My story today is entitled "The Farm Bill Amendment Would Ban All Hemp-derived THC, Closing the So-Called THCA Loophole." So this comes out of MJ Biz Daily by Chris Roberts, published yesterday. And it starts, will Congress protect the nationwide market for hemp-derived cannabinoids through the next U.S. Farm Bill, or will state-regulated marijuana industry succeed in squashing the unwelcome competitor? Under one proposed amendment filed Wednesday ahead of a key hearing which happened yesterday, Thursday, all ingestible hemp products with any level of THC would be federally banned, warned the U.S. Roundtable, a Washington, D.C. based lobbying group. The $1.5 trillion farm bill, wow, that's a lot of money, $1 trillion. $1.5 trillion farm bill, already nearly 9 months overdue, is scheduled for a markup hearing in the House Committee on Agriculture on Thursday. That was yesterday. So among many points of contention in the sprawling bill, which Congress normally updates every 5 years, is what to do with the burgeoning domestic hemp derived cannabinoid markets, estimated to be as much as $28 billion. Well, I've heard numbers exceeding $50 billion, but okay, $28 billion, still a lot of money. Closing the THCA loophole. Actually, the way they spelled it was TCHA, so I'm sure they mean THCA. They just got their alphabet soup wrong. So an initial draft of the Farm Bill published last week by Pennsylvania Republican Senator or Republican Congressman Glenn G.T. Thomas, the Ag Committee chairman, proposed to redefine hemp under federal law to include hemp grown for cannabinoid extraction. On Wednesday, U.S. Representative Mary Miller, an Illinois Republican, filed a proposed amendment, the so-called Mary Miller Amendment, to the text that would exclude products with any detectable amounts of THC, as well as cannabinoids synthesized or manufactured outside the plant. So this is basically an amendment that they're putting into the Farm Bill that's going to end the conversion of CBD or other things into psychoactive cannabinoids. That language would render most products such as Delta-8 or other novel-containing cannabinoids such as HHC illegal under federal law. Miller's amendment would redefine hemp under the federal law to mean cannabis plants with 0.3% or less THC, including tetrahydrocannabinolic acid, or THCA, the biosynthetic precursor to THC that becomes intoxicating when heated. I am offering an amendment to close the loophole that legalized intoxicating hemp products like Delta-8, which is being marketed to teenagers and children, Miller said in a message posted to social media site X. These drug-infused products are often sold in colorful packaging next to candy and snacks, which parents strongly oppose. Thursday Farm Bill hearing. So many competing interests are lobbying the U.S. House Committee on Agriculture to drastically revise the $1.5 trillion, 940-page Farm Bill. And most of them have nothing to do with hemp. Most of those pages, they're saying. Democrats are furious that Thomas proposed a cut of $30 billion from the Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Plan, or what's called SNAP, formerly known as the Food Stamp Program. Meanwhile, Thomas's far-right colleagues are bristling at his proposal to continue massive subsidies for agribusiness interests. Those are like the corn and the soybean and the wheat growers. A lot of those big industrial ag farms get a lot of money from the government in the form of subsidies. So somewhere in the middle, lobbyists for the marijuana and hemp industries are trying to grab lawmakers' attention long enough to address intoxicating cannabinoids derived from hemp, a nationwide market created by the 2018 Farm Bill. What they want is either preservation of the status quo, which allows hemp-derived products to be marketed and sold pursuant to state regulations, or a de facto admission from Congress that legalizing a nationwide market for hemp-derived THC was a mistake and that hemp ought to be regulated like marijuana. So marijuana versus hemp in a survival struggle. For those businesses already engaged in the hemp industry, the draft of the Farm Bill that Thompson released last week is near ideal. It leaves the federal definition of hemp while adding language that addresses hemp the same way as it did in the previous Farm Bill. And it doesn't say whether it's grown for extraction or not. Representative Miller's amendment filed Wednesday would turn the fortunes of hemp producers sharply. The amendment states that hemp does not include hemp-derived products containing cannabinoids that are not capable of naturally being produced in the plant Cannabis sativa, or were synthesized or manufactured outside the plant, or have similar effects or marketed to have similar effects in humans or animals as does Delta-9 THC. In a statement about the Farm Bill amendment, U.S. Roundtable General Counsel Jonathan Miller, again another Miller, interesting, urged its defeat by the House lawmakers in Thursday's markup meeting. By federally banning all hemp products with any quantifiable level of THC, the Mary Miller Amendment would result in federal prohibition of 90 and 95% of all hemp products that are on the market today, even the ones with large popularity, with non-intoxicating products too, the CBD products that contain trace amounts of intoxicating cannabinoids such as THC. So the redefinition of hemp to include the calculation of THCA would wreak havoc in the fiber and grain markets, killing tens of thousands of agricultural retail jobs and denying access to popular products that Americans can count on for health and wellness. At least one lobbying group is likely to be pleased with Representative Miller's proposed amendment, and it represents the regulated marijuana industry. So last month, the U.S. Cannabis Council, members of which include multi-state operators in the licensed marijuana operations currently undergoing, circulated a letter amongst lawmakers to exclude in the new Farm Bill any hemp-derived product with detectable amounts of total THC or any other intoxicant that being derived from hemp, including other forms of THC or synthetic compounds like HHC. In a statement, the U.S. Cannabis Council spokesperson Josh Glassstetter said excluding intoxicating hemp products from the Farm Bill definition of hemp would mean lawmakers can regulate them the same as cannabis products at the state level, where many lawmakers have already passed bans or regulations. Closing the perceived loophole in the Farm Bill would create parity and facilitate state-level regulation, followed by eventual federal legalization of all THC products, the USCC statement reads in part. The Democratic Party-controlled Senate has yet to release a full text of the proposed bill. So the synthetic THC question, somewhere between the preservation and prohibition, is the position taken by the American Trade Council for Hemp and Cannabis. It's their position that hemp manufacturers have gone too far in creating THC alternatives such as Delta-8 THC, which naturally exists in the plant at low levels. No, it doesn't. but is generally derived from CBD in a chemical process. We don't think Congress legalized synthetic THC in the Farm Bill, and we don't think Congress closed the doors on states getting involved, said Chris Lindsay, who lobbies for Congress on behalf of the American Trade Association for Cannabis and Hemp. But we definitely think there's nothing but confusion about these things. So passing the Farm Bill will be a tall order. It remains to be seen if an open question whether a divided Congress that we have now will reach a major party controlling one chamber or the other by a small margin will be able to pass any Farm Bill in an election year. The 2018 Farm Bill, which expired in September of 2023, with funding provisions extended as Congress endured leadership battles, sidelined lawmaking for now. It's possible that vicious partisan squabbling will thwart the efforts of passing the bill, something that could happen without hemp or marijuana even entering into the conversation, punting the Farm Bill to the next Congress seated after the presidential election. Well, the Farm Bill is on life support now, as it is. Hemp Roundtable's Miller noted on Thursday, prior to the Miller Amendment, which was introduced in that session yesterday. So there are Democrats opposed on the House side and a good chunk of the Freedom Caucus that don't like it either. It's going to be a tall order to get the Farm Bill passed this year. And that's the story. Well, I'm just going to remind everybody that the regulation over the plant as dictated by the Farm Bill ends at harvest, right? So once those hemp plants are deemed hemp plants, right, by the test that's done before they're harvested, where they test for the level of THC and THCA, once those hemp plants are deemed hemp plants and they're harvested and sent off to processors to turn it into CBD isolate, the CBD isolate is going to go wherever it's going to go. How is the Farm Bill, which regulates the plant growing, going to affect what happens to the CBD, right? Take a little bit of CBD, add a little bit of bentonite clay, heat it up and distill, and you have delta-8 THC. So how are they going to keep that from happening? I don't see how it happens. I think this is where the FDA certainly needs to step in and start regulating things. And you can tell that even in the Farm Bill, the intellectual furnaces burning hard down in Washington, D.C., did not even contemplate CBD products making it to the market because, as Jean will know, CBD products, because CBD is the active ingredient of FDA-approved drugs, the FD&C Act prohibits their use in food, feed, or cosmetics. So food would be gummies, tinctures, no, off the book. Feed would be animal treats, doggy treats, off the book. Cosmetics would be topicals. So CBD and those types of form factors are all illegal, federally illegal. So I don't know. I think, again, they believe that the industrial hemp classification is going to be just for, fiber and seeds. Well, good luck. I think trying to parse out a CBD-enriched variety as extractable hemp is a futile exercise. And that's what I have to say. This is Dr. Mark from the Shirey Science Hall here at St. Michael's College in Colchester, Vermont. What do you guys have to say about the Miller Amendment, which is basically going to try to snuff out 90 to 95% of what we think is a better than $50 billion market?
I think the Miller Amendment, Dr. Chaldon, I think the Miller Amendment ultimately will not make it in the Senate's version at all, because we just had comments that we had on the show yesterday from Senator Ron Wyden, who said he's not interested in backtracking any of the progress that has been made so far, and he would view this as a backtrack. And so ultimately, I'm not too worried about this amendment, and I don't think it's going to go anywhere. yeah, it may have passed through with this committee, but it doesn't mean that it's going to be in the final bill, and it definitely isn't going to be in the Senate's version of the bill because Ron Wyden is one of the steers on that ship, and so therefore, when it ultimately gets to the president's desk, I'm willing to bet that the Senate will have made sure that that was ripped out in reconciliation.
Yeah, it's interesting, Jason, that the people pushing for this are the U.S. Cannabis Council,
that's
right?
because
Which is basically
that's because the U.S. Cannabis Council, they don't understand how these are the same people that are against home grow and all of this other type of stuff.
Right.
Okay, they're simply monopolistic players trying to control the plant and think that they can control the plant and that they can control you at the same time because of the fact of that you would in essence have to buy cannabis from them. Ultimately, that's what they ultimately want, is that you can only access cannabis from them, and they are the only people you can ever access cannabis through.
So if hemp is legal and making CBD is still legal, how do they possibly regulate what happens to CBD? Again, you can heat up CBD and convert it into THC.
I agree with you. And at the same time too, if flower is deemed as THCA flower by weight at harvest, and then you know what I mean, who knows what form it takes after that. But they're not going to stop anything that's going on with this.
Yeah, I'm really glad that you made those points, Jason, because obviously we're really concerned about this amendment. My fiance is a hemp farmer, and he not only grows hemp, but he sells a lot of finished products, including dog treats that are infused with full spectrum CBD. So he's anxious in his body right now about this amendment. And I sort of made the same point to him, Jason, that you made. It's like, just because this one committee got it through does not mean that it's going to be in the final bill. That if the final bill even gets passed, much to Jonathan Miller's point in the story. But yeah, to the U.S. Cannabis Council, I'm just like, okay, I understand your position. You don't like these folks undercutting your business, but I am wearing my corporate mids shirt today in their honor.
Love that.
Since that's all they want us to buy.
That is, you're 100% right on that, Rochelle. Dr. T, you have any thoughts on this? Dr. T, you with us?
You're muted.
You're muted, Dr. T. Yeah.
Sorry about that. Can they stop what happens to us what happens to the plant after it's harvested?
No, because the Farm Bill stops at harvest. They would have a better chance of introducing some type of amendment that dictated control or custody of the plant after harvest than they would, I think, trying to get this amendment all the way through the finish line.
Yeah, I think conversion leads to problems unless you're really isolating Delta 8. There's so many other things that get produced with conversion. I think that's unsafe. But taking the plant, a type 3 plant, which is really what the definition should be, not this 0.3%. That's just doesn't make scientific sense. So taking a type 3 plant and letting it be legal would be a great step.
Yeah.
Not what they're doing.
Fair enough. Stone, is this going to stop you from buying any Delta 8 products?
Oh, Jason, Beck, you and your fascination with Delta 8. Yeah, I think it's I agree with all the points here. This Keystone Cop fumbling government of ours, if they had handled cannabis properly from the beginning, Delta 8 wouldn't exist. And it's all stupid.
It's all stupid.
Yeah.
Fair enough.
I'd also like to say that those products aren't always marketed to kids. Owners actually have quite a sense of whimsy and wonder, and we like cartoons and colors.
We like colors.
Some of that stuff we just also happen to like.
Yes.